Hello and welcome back to the Andrew Eborn Show, where my guest is yet again the wonderful John Allison. How are you doing, John?
Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind.
It's always a thrill. So last time we were speaking, we were discussing those early days, the early days when you were down Tin Pan Alley and you used to go singing in coffee bars, and you wonderfully got launched into the public eye, if you like, having had a wonderful success. And you should have won, we determined, the 1961 Eurovision Song Competition. But you were defeated by somebody from Luxembourg who really wasn't from Luxembourg.
Well, only defeated from going to being voted first in the contest. But let me tell you something, Andrew. There's something we realised very quickly. It doesn't matter where you come in the Eurovision final. It doesn't guarantee success back in your own country. But the thing is, you can fail in the Eurovision and still have a big hit in your own country. Well, it didn't matter to us that we weren't voted first. We were voted second, right? Or the country was voted second. But it didn't stop our record being a success in every country in Europe. Because, as I say, we were number one in Britain, and not just in the record charts. We were number one in the record charts and the jukebox charts and the sheet music charts and the radio playlist charts. It had never been done before. We were the first in that as well, and it's never been done since. And then to top that, we were the first British artist in the Eurovision to get into the American charts, and then we were number one all over Europe with 24 other versions all over Europe.
24.
There were five, 4 German, 2 Dutch, Finnish, Swedish, Norwegian, and Danish versions. It was even the version in Ceylon. Unbelievable.
No, quite incredible. And you were saying last time that we touched on this, that the music industry, where you had to surround yourselves with experts, but you felt as though you didn't get what you were entitled to.
No. Like a lot of people, I'm afraid the people you need in the business to run your career are the professionals. They already know how it all works. Nearly in every case, you're the newcomers. You haven't got any idea how anything works. And it's very, very easy to be taken advantage of. It's as simple as that. There was no school for pop singers. And what we soon discovered is there's no complaints desk in the music business.
And I think that's where things like Denmark Street and the Tin Pan Alley came into its own, because all the musicians, or a lot of the singer-songwriters, would come down and meet there and swap their stories.
Yes, but we never saw very many there. We went there to go to see publishers looking for new songs, and I used the recording studio in Denmark Street on a fairly regular basis all through the 60s and 70s. But we very rarely socialized with other singers, because a lot of the time, when you were in London doing something, all the other singers were traveling around the country, so you didn't get much chance to see each other. And the only time was when you were on the same bill. So we did a lot of shows with the British artists and American artists. I mean, British artists we worked with, Billy Fury and Eden Kane and many, many other groups. And then American artists, we did tours with Gene Vincent and Jerry Lee Lewis and Del Shannon. We did several tours with Del Shannon. So
tell me about life on the road then, John, with some of those. What was it like with Jerry Lee Lewis?
Well, he didn't socialize with us very much, but he was a fairly powerful and positive singer, you know, so we enjoyed being on the show with him, watching him from the side wings and so on, and then knowing that he was watching us when we were on. But apart from being on stage and seeing each other in the dressing room, I was running a fan club at the time for us and acting as a reporter, and I would interview all the other artists on the show and then write the stories when we got back, and our fan club secretary would get it printed. So we went to his dressing room and spoke with him, but as I say, we weren't teetotal by choice. We just didn't drink. We weren't normal, but he was a drinker. So we didn't socialize in that sense. We knew he was a drinker and in his dressing room, and we didn't join him. You know, it was as simple as that. But
I had the joy of meeting him and his sister when they came over a few years ago to celebrate his 80th as well. And Linda, his sister, she's a fantastic singer as well.
I never met her, but I do know she's a singer. What's her professional name?
Linda Lee Lewis.
Linda Lee Lewis, that's it, right, yes.
And she's wonderful. I had the joy of interviewing her as well on the show, and she performed in London, and we had a fantastic time together, and a real character. I love real characters.
So have you retained a contact for her? Because
Oh yes, I
I've
can
got
put you in touch. Anybody you want to be in touch with, we can get you. Now that you're an official winner, now that we've declared you to be the winner of
Let me just finish
1951.
that. If you've got a contact with Linda Lee Lewis, I've got a couple of songs which I think she would love.
Oh, fantastic! And so you're still writing. A writer never stops writing, do they?
No, I never stop writing. No, because if you're a writer, you can never stop ideas coming into your head.
And which do you prefer? Because you're not only a writer, but you love performing as well. And one thing we haven't touched on is your time at the Palladium. Talk to me about that and the wonderful time you had with Frankie Vaughan.
We did 2 weeks of the London Palladium with Frankie Vaughan. Yes. He sort of took us under his wing for a bit while we were there because he was very keen on the boys' clubs, you know. So he was quite pleased to see us being successful, and he was a great encouragement. So it was a wonderful experience being on at the Palladium with him. I've still got the poster from it.
Oh, which is great. And talk about, because your father used to drop you off, didn't he? Or used to come home, and it was really, like a lot of these things, what I love, you talk about celebrities and people forget that they have a real life behind all of this. And you'll come home and it's quite grounding, isn't it?
Oh, it wasn't my fault. My father didn't have a car. Bob's father had a little tiny Ford Popular, a blue one. And he used to pick us up after the show and drive us home. We never went to nightclubs, so we would drive home to our home in Fulham, and we would go to Bob's house, and we'd simply have a hot cup of cocoa each. And that was it.
And you used to have to share a bed as well?
We did before we became famous. We did. If we were having a late night rehearsing or playing a simple card game and it got too late, then we'd stay the night. Sometimes there were 3 of us in the same bed.
And this is what they love when people think about the rock and roll lifestyle. They don't imagine that your mate's dad's going to pick you up and drive you home for a cup of cocoa, do they? That's not what they think is rock and roll.
Well, I rather liked cocoa.
Oh, there's an endorsement deal we could have done all those years ago as well, you see. You could have been.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I think I'm the face of cocoa.
Our management missed a few tricks there. You know, there wasn't so much sponsorship went on in those days, and it should have done.
No, well, interesting. Well, we talk about cocoa, and we talked about you used to work at the coffee houses. I'm going to show you a little video clip. Hold the line. Here we go. Okay, so John, do you recognise this?
I do now. Is that the plaque for the Two Eyes Coffee Bar?
That is the birthplace of British rock and roll and the popular music industry. And I thought I'd take you on a little journey through here. So this is where we went. You'll remember this club all the way downstairs on Old Compton Street. Talk to me about your memories here.
So do you want me to tell you about our experience of going there?
Yes, absolutely. But before we do that, do you know who that is? That's a very young Mark Bolan.
Oh, yeah.
What I wanted to show you is right next to the Mark Bolan picture. If you have a look over here like this, do you recognise that?
Oh, that's my membership card.
There you go. And I thought you'd quite like that, because that is on the wall over there. John Allison. You haven't seen that on the wall. They've got it there right next to all these wonderful people. They've got a picture of you. There's Tommy Steele. And everybody comes in now and they all talk about John Allison and seeing his fantastic membership card. How does that make you feel?
I'm very pleased about that, because let me tell you how that came about. Why there is a card there, and I've had it copied to make sure it's safe, is when Bob and I were trying to get started, we discussed it a lot, and I said, of course, you've got to remember, back in the 50s, Soho had a very bad reputation. So our parents warned us not to go up there. So we used to go up there in secret. So one evening I said, let's go up to the Two Eyes Coffee Bar. Everybody seems to be being discovered there. Let's go up and see if we can get a job singing there. So we went up to Piccadilly, walked around the back streets, found where the Two Eyes was, went up to the door, and they had a doorman in charge who wouldn't let you in unless you said where you were going. You either went into the coffee bar or down the stairs to where they sang. And we said, can we come in and have a look to see where they all sing, please? This was 1959. And he said, oh, no. He said, you can't go downstairs where they sing unless you're a member. So we said, oh, what do we have to do to be a member? He said, and he held up the card. He said, you have to buy one of these cards. I said, oh, cool. We didn't have much money. So I said to him, if I buy a card, can the 2 of us go down? And he said, yeah, okay. So I paid, I don't know what it was, 2 and 6 or 5 bob or 4 shillings or something, you know. So I bought a card. That's that card, or the small one would have been. We went down the stairs to see what was going on, and the place was completely empty. but it was completely bare. There was a carpet on the floor and a tiny stage in one corner and nothing on the walls. And we said, is this it? There was nobody there. And I said, well, because we said there must be something special about the place. So with it being empty and no atmosphere, we sort of said, well, how do people get famous here? So I said, it must be something to do with the sound. Well, we hadn't got our guitars with us, but we had our voices and we could sing on in a moment. So I said, I know, let's sing a few verses of a couple of 2 or 3 pop songs and see what it sounds like. So we sang a couple of verses each from a Buddy Holly song and an Everly Brothers song in harmony, and we listened to it, and we said, well, it doesn't sound very special at all. It must be a lot of, fake publicity or hype. So we were fairly disappointed. But anyway, so we came out and went for a walk further down and investigated, explored the rest of Soho. But the thing that happened was that we didn't realize I had put my membership card in my pocket and forgot all about it and found it there years later in this old jacket. I didn't even know I'd still got it. So I got that card simply by accident. So we did sing in the Two Eyes Coffee Bar, but a cappella. There was nobody else there, just us 2 of us with our voices.
Glorious.
So it is true. We were never booked there, but we did sing there.
Oh, wonderful. No, it's all good stuff. But you did do the Palladium, which is obviously a much, much bigger place and things like that. And you still have the membership card with you?
Well, yes, I've had it copied several times, and I carry some copies with me with an elastic band around them. If we ever get talking to anybody and the subject comes up, I then give them a copy of the card.
Oh, do you have one on you?
Well, I didn't. While I had a drink of water, I didn't think to look for it.
That's all right. I'll pause it briefly. You can go and get one. Well, here we are, John. So this is your card on the wall. You've got your own copy as well. Talk us through this.
Well, of course, you realise that is an enlargement of the original card because it was just an ordinary membership card, like a business card. So I had to pay the doorman for that before he would allow us to go downstairs to look at the room. He told us that night, he said, well, there's no singers on tonight. I said, well, can we just go and have a look at the room to see what it looks like? We're curious about how so many people keep being discovered and becoming famous here. So he let us go downstairs, but as I say, I had to pay him for a membership card before he would let us in. But I'm quite pleased to see there's one on the wall. It's very nice indeed.
And you're sharing fantastic company. I mean, as I say, you have people like Tommy Steele and lots. It was the club to go and play. The Beatles would go there, the Stones would go there. You see some of the original wall is here as well, which they've kept. And actually, it was quite a small club, all in all. I mean, if you go downstairs, I'll take you downstairs in a bit. You have a look at that sort of side. And it was tiny, wasn't it?
Well, yes, but I was going to tell you a follow-up story because, as I say, I've never seen all those pictures. Since I was last there, they've all been put up on the walls. Now, what happened was somebody put me in touch with a TV producer who was producing a series of documentary interviews about people who started their career in coffee bars. So we were introduced to him, and I had to explain to him, I said, well, yes, we did sing at the Two Eyes Coffee Bar, but we were never booked there. But as it so happens, luckily, I've kept my membership card. So eventually, he came to Bob's house to interview the 2 of us. And in advance, when I realized he was interested in the card, for the first time ever, I went and had multiple copies made of it. So when he came to interview Bob and myself and talk to us about the 2 Eyes and the membership card, he said to me, because I'd given him several names and phone numbers of other people who'd sung there, and he said to me he'd interviewed many, many people, including Cliff Richard and the Shadows, and other people who definitely played and sang there. And he'd even interviewed the former owner of the Two Eyes Coffee Bar, Paul Lincoln, who by then had retired to a retirement home down at Bournemouth on the south coast. He said, but of all the people he'd interviewed, I was the only one who'd still got a membership card. Even the original owner of the Two Eyes Coffee Bar hadn't kept any membership cards. So I then was able to give him and his cameraman their own personal copy of the membership card.
Oh no, that's fantastic, and it's great that yours, of all the members, all the fantastic members, even though you'd never played officially there, you played a cappella, as you say, and of all the famous members, your name is on the wall. That's what I love. That's what I love.
I'm amazed, actually. I never expected that.
There you go. And it's the first time you've seen it. You've seen it here now live on the Andrew Eborn show.
That's the first time I've seen that. Yes, when you said it was on the wall, I just thought it was a card stuck on the wall. I didn't realise it was in a frame.
No, and next to Tommy Steele, and you've got Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta, you've got the Beatles, and they've got right in the heart, the centrepiece of it all is John Allison. That's got to be good.
I'm amazed. Well, what I'll do is I'll make sure I'll send them a colour photograph now so they can put it in a new frame with my picture next to the card.
I think that would be one. And I'll tell you what we should do is when we present you with the official 1961 winners trophy for the Eurovision Song Contest, now that we've worked out about the technicality and it's been properly awarded to you on the Andrew Eborn show, what we'll do, we'll get you to go down there and sing the song.
Oh, okay. And you can film me there doing it.
Wouldn't that be good?
Yeah, it'd be great.
Because then you can say you performed officially. But actually, the room downstairs is really quite tiny, isn't it?
Oh, yes, but that's what shocked us. It's very small. Yes. So we were amazed when we realised the history that it had got, and it was in such a small setting. It's unbelievable. But we realised through clever reporting and the success of the artist's records made the story. So the myth was bigger than the reality.
Oh, absolutely. And I always say, never let the truth stand in the way of a good story.
That's a good one. Yeah, yeah.
So it's all going to be good. So after Eurovision, I mean,
I'm really amazed to see it.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm delighted. I say this has been what I love about this show as well. It's a journey of discovery for the guests as well. So you've come on, you've worked out the power of the number 24 in your life. I've shown you that there's that memorial for you at the Two Eyes Coffee Club, which is fantastic. Isn't that great?
Well, I'll tell you something else. You've mentioned something to me now. I actually suggested to the BBC that they form a club, a loose official club, of all the British artists who ever performed in the Eurovision on behalf of Britain. And it would be a place we could all go to sometimes, part of another club, but we would have one corner of it with our pictures on the walls to show that we all performed for Britain in the Eurovision.
Oh,
and
I love that.
they've never responded to it, but I think the idea merits a consideration.
Well, better than that, we can form, because this is an even larger club, the great thing with a global reach, we could form a virtual club in the same way as we've got the Zoom generation. Now that I've introduced you to Zoom, I could get lots of people on here. So you talk about that 2 years before you, we had Pearl, do you remember who it was? 2 years in 1959, there was Pearl, Carl and Teddy Johnson. And
yes.
sadly, neither of them are not with us, but I had a joy of meeting them at Brinsworth House. Do you know about Brinsworth?
Right. Oh, they went there, did they? I visited them when they were living in Mortlake, on the other side of the river to Barnes. Yes, right. I visited them at home 15, 20 years ago, you know. And of course, the year we did the Song for Europe, their brother, Brian Johnson, was on with us.
Oh, there you go. Oh, fantastic. I mean, it's a really small world. So what happened when you went to visit them in Mortlake? How did that come about?
Well, I wish I'd done more of it. We were very reserved and polite when Bob and I first started. We'd been brought up very properly, not to make a nuisance of ourselves. And slowly it began to occur to me that we never wanted to be accused of trying to curry favour from other people. But I realised what we'd lost was the ability to have sensible, intelligent discussions with other performers who had more experience than us and could have given us some good advice. So when I discovered they were living just across the river from me, when I had an allotment alongside the railway that went across the road right next to their house. So when I discovered they were living in Mortlake, I made contact. I went across to visit them. And I just think I went across to have a general discussion about the music business and the fact that I recognised they were a previous generation to us, and just for us, a bit of general advice, you know. So I can't remember what transpired from it, but I'm pleased I
they gave you, though.
Pardon?
Do you remember the advice they gave you?
Not offhand, no. But I probably took careful consideration of it. You know, I probably told them the problems we had, and they probably gave some advice on how to cope with it. You know.
They were absolutely wonderful. Well, as I say, I had the joy of meeting them there. My mother went in for a short time to Brinsworth, which, as people will know, is the Royal Variety charity, the performance that they do at the Palladium, tying in with your Frankie Vaughan days.
Yeah,
On several occasions. It raises money for Brinsworth House, which is a fantastic facility, not too far from Teddington. And it's along the road there. And I had the pleasure of meeting them both there at Brinsworth House. And it's like staying in a 5-star hotel. They have a top chef who prepares these wonderful meals. So I'll go and visit my mother there, and we go along and have basically a 5-star meal, and had chatted to Teddy and Pearl about the good old days. So a glorious, glorious time there.
Oh, yes. Well, the people like those sort of trod the path for the rest of us to follow. But did you know that because that's on the road that goes from Barnes to Hammersmith Bridge, isn't it?
That's right,
Brinsworth.
absolutely.
Yeah. Did you know Norman Wisdom was there?
Yes, I know. There's quite a few famous residents. Did you know Norman very well?
No, we never met him, but he was one of the people. I've actually got a set of his DVDs because I did admire him. I thought he was one of the top comedy British actors. You know, I thought his films were hilarious.
Yeah. No, I
liked it very much.
Absolutely. No, it has many, many famous residents, because it was set up for those in the industry, basically to look after them in their winter years, the autumn and winter years, and a superb facility down at Brinsworth, and the staff there do a really brilliant job. And every year the money from the Royal
I might bear them in mind for my 150th birthday.
Yes, it's all good. But I do like, before you join that particular club, I like your idea of having a UK Eurovision competition entrance. Who would you have in there? Who've been your favourites?
I think Sandy Shaw.
She lives over the road. So I'm right in Regent's Park. So do you know Sandy?
No, I've never met her, but I admired the fact that she had a marvellous success in the, you know, she was declared the first official winner, you know, but she was voted first in the final, you know. But Sandy Shaw,
1967, wasn't it, with Puppet on a String?
Yes, and Lulu and Cliff.
Shout, she was fantastic.
Yeah, well, I was going to say Cliff Richard, of course, because I think I mentioned earlier, it was thanks to Cliff Richard that we actually got started ourselves, because Cliff Richard was the main judge on the talent show that we won in September 1960 that led to our first record.
No, I remember, and you did that, but that was done by, so you never actually met him, but you did it by cassette, didn't you?
Oh, yes. I've met him 2 or 3 times, yes, yeah, you know, but not working together. But as I say, that was his first connection with us. And he was an inspiration. I mean, I remember when his first record came out, we couldn't believe it. The sound was so great. It was great. We got a good British rock and roll singer, you know. So, I mean, the other people, Cliff Richard, the Shadows were in it, of course, as well. I'd sort of invite them, Lulu as well. And there are some other people. I'm afraid what things seems to have changed nowadays. When we lived through a period, we performed when we started through a period when all the emphasis was on the singer, the tune, and the lyrics of the song. But we've passed through a period when all the emphasis seems to be nowadays on the technology and the technicality, and the video effects, you know, the costumes and the mask and the dancing. When we did it, there weren't any dancers. You had to perform on your voice alone. So once we get past the period of the people who were just straightforward vocalists, I'm afraid I can't remember very many of the names.
Well, you had some other ones who share your wall at the Two Eyes Coffee Club. You know the connection there. There was somebody else. I showed you the picture of. We had Grease on the wall as well, and you know, one of the entrants in 1974. You know who that was?
Offhand, no.
Olivia Newton-John represented the UK in 1974.
Yes, I admire her very much too.
Yeah, fantastic. And so, I mean, Brotherhood of Man. We had Bucks Fizz.
Oh yeah. Oh, they're
what did you
good.
think of them? Making your mind up.
Oh yeah, fabulous, very good. Yeah, well, yeah, it was for very many reasons. I thought the song was great. I thought the dance routines were great, and the performance, especially the ripping off of the skirts, I think was very effective.
So I reckon, John Allison, we could have a bit of that coming on. I mean, I know you're not a fan of all the costumes and things like that, but you can have a bit of fun, couldn't you?
Oh no, I wouldn't say that, because the thing is, before we ever became professional singers, we did perform pantomimes in our youth club at our church.
Oh no, you didn't.
Oh yes, I did.
I think.
Listen, and one of the things I discovered was I liked dressing up, because in one of them we did Aladdin, and I was the emperor. So I rather liked being, I got a photograph of me with a long string moustache. So I discovered that I like dressing up. I said, why couldn't we have a man on in the Eurovision dressed in a dress?
Right there, well, we have. I mean, there are lots of people, so that they've represented every possible demographic. I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful, glorious experience, Euro. And people throw Eurovision parties. Do you get invited to those?
No, but about 4 or 5 years ago, I did appear at a Eurovision party in Soho. I was booked to appear with several other people, and I did perform our Eurovision song there in a special nightclub in Soho. But
Which
I've never
nightclub?
been.
Do you remember which nightclub it was? Do
Pardon?
you remember which one it was?
No, I can't remember.
Can't remember. Because
About 5 years.
also regularly, I'm just around the corner because I'm right in the heart of London. I'm just by Regent's Park, so you probably know it well. Also, Katrina and the Waves. Do you remember them?
Oh, yes, that was a good one. You do realise Katrina was American?
Yes, I know, but but technically, again, going back to your Luxembourg point and the French, it worked in our favour that year.
Yeah, well, they've changed the rules because, understandably, to keep the thing going, and it's become more colourful. The Eurovision has gone from being a very strict and rather boring sort of song contest into more of a variety show, and of course it's all colour now and dancing and so on, and a light show, and they show you the orchestra and the scenery, so it's very enjoyable. I would very much like to have another go.
Oh, we should do. I think that's the other campaign we've got to get. We should get you back to celebrate. As I say, the big anniversary is coming up at 2021, because 2020 hasn't been a great year for people, has it?
No, well, pretty bad. Yeah, pretty bad.
So we should focus our energies on 2021. We can get in.
They've had Engelbert Humperdinck, so why shouldn't I have a go?
I think you should. What would you sing?
Oh, don't worry. I've got many songs. I pick out a good one.
Oh, that'd be super, because you've been since the Eurovision days. I mean, you've been on the road yourself. You've been singing lots of songs from the 60s and 70s and so on and so forth. What would your set list now include?
Oh, crikey!
I don't know that one. How does "Oh Crikey" go?
Hold on. Let me. Shall I read you some of the songs I sing from my performance?
Go for it. Absolutely. Read out your set list.
Right. "The Price of Love," which was a hit for the Everly Brothers. "Think It Over," Buddy Holly. "Sheila," Tommy Rowe. "Hello, Mary Lou," Ricky Nelson. "Love of My Life," the Everly Brothers. "Apache," I do a couple of instrumentals. "Apache" by the Shadows. "Wake Up Little Susie" by the Everly Brothers. "Are You Sure" by a duo called the Allisons.
Never heard of them.
I think they stand a chance. Anyway, "Bebopalula," Gene Vincent. "Run Around," "Runaway" by Del Shannon. "Dream Lover," Bobby Darin. "Happy Together," the Turtles. "Oh Carol," Neil Sedaka. "Lessons in Love" by the Allisons. "And I Love Her" for the Beatles. "Teenager in Love," Dion and the Belmonts. "Rip It Up," Jerry Lewis. "That'll Be the Day," Buddy Holly. "Do You Want to Dance," Cliff Richard. "All I Have to Do Is Dream," the Everly Brothers. "Peggy Sue," Buddy Holly. "Lucille," Little Richard. "La Bamba," anybody. I do La Bamba all the time. "Oh Carol," and "Are You Sure" again. So and then I do about 20 other numbers off the cuff, you know.
I tell you what, that sounds like one hell of a night. It sounds brilliant. So what's happened? I mean, you must have been touring all the time. That is a show to die for. An absolutely fantastic night. During lockdown, it's been a bit difficult, hasn't it?
I haven't done a single. Well, I did an impromptu performance. I've had a fractured pelvis from about 6 months ago. And
Elvis's revenge, you know that, because you knocked him off #1 twice. That's his revenge. Elvis the pelvis has got his revenge.
I did an unofficial impromptu show in a pub in Surbiton near to Kingston Hospital, just to show them what a few 60s numbers could sound like. And I hadn't told them in advance who I was. All I can say is they were pretty shocked. They hadn't expected it.
Brilliant. And what a delight. And I love those moments. This is why we had to follow you with a film crew, because those are the moments you want to capture when people realize who you are. When we take you into the fish and chip bar, Poppy's Fish and Chip Bar, and we show you your name on the wall next to all the other greats over there, and getting you doing impromptu performances. The other shock thing, we talked about costumes, but you don't always wear a costume, do you?
No, I think I know what you're getting at. Sometimes I don't bother to wear anything at all.
Yes, I wonder if I was getting at that. What have you got on today, John? Well, nothing. Tell me about that.
Well, it's a personal thing, but after my divorce from my third wife, I got fairly depressed, and I wanted to get out of the country and basically strip myself of all pressures and everything. And I've always been a naturist, and I got myself eventually, after making several inquiries, I got booked to be the entertainer down at the world's largest naturist resort in the south of France. And I was booked by an English holiday firm to sing for their customers one night a week in a restaurant inside the camp. And it's the world's largest naturist resort, and it's supported by the French government and the French tourist industry. And I was given a free caravan for 4 months, and I worked once a week in this restaurant doing a cabaret show. But the thing is, both the performer, that's myself, and all the customers were entirely naked. And so was the whole resort. As they have over 1 million visitors a year, and the height of the summer, there's 40,000 people there.
40,000 naturists, amazing. And so, do you still do it?
Yes. Well, up until this year, it's not been possible this year. We've not been able to even leave the country.
But they have a number of famous places. I mean, Brighton, which is not so far away from us. Did you pop down to Brighton? They have famous beaches down there.
I did do a show for Channel 4, Big Breakfast. I was performing on the beach at Brighton. They got permission from the police for me to perform near the pier because it was away from the naturist beach. And I appeared on Big Breakfast. They tried to pretend I was a naturist busker.
But they would have spotted you. Fantastic. And so what was your initial catalyst? You say it was the tragic circumstances or the sad circumstances of splitting up from that particular wife. And you decided this is the way who introduced you to it?
What, being a naturist?
Yeah, because it's not a natural progression. In fact, most people, you're the first, but I have to say, John, I meet many, many people in this line of business. The first person who suddenly said, okay, I met naturalists before and so on and so forth, but the first person who said, okay, this is how I'm going to get over this particularly troubling time of my life. Who introduced you to it? What were those circumstances?
Well, it was, I visited clubs before as a naturist, and I had been interested in being a naturist since I was about 18. But never had the opportunity to join a club properly before on a full-time basis. So when I was offered the chance to sing as an entertainer and basically have a free holiday for 4 months down in the south of France, I jumped at the chance. And I just went ahead and did it and liked it so much that a friend of myself bought a caravan down there, and we started going down every year and taking her disabled daughter. And so it became basically a way of life. And it's all I can say is it's a very relaxing, healthy lifestyle.
And people who are interested in finding out more, where would they go? Where would you recommend they have a look?
Well, I would suggest people go on a naturist holiday at a proper camp, somewhere warm, so they get used to it, where everybody else are regular customers, and they wouldn't look out of place. So I would suggest they go to Cap d'Agde. They can book holidays there. It's open from the middle of March till the middle of October. They can book a caravan or a tent or a mobile home or an apartment and go down and try it. Look it up. I suppose nowadays you can look it up on the internet and experience it in advance. And it's a fabulous place, a massive, great beach, about 2 miles long, lovely warm sea, lovely sunshine. And the amusing thing about it is if you're on the beach, everybody looks when somebody goes past with clothes on.
Well, and I guess that's the sort of liberating thing, but it must be, well, it is, it's a worldwide movement, isn't it? So when you go, around to different places, how would you find your local club?
Join an organization called British Naturism, and they have a magazine, and they list all their clubs in the back of it with their address and phone numbers, and you just phone up and ask if you can go along and try it. It's as simple as that. And combined with the fact that if you also like, well, healthy and fit, I think it encourages you to look after your health and your body. Because if you know you're going to be on display, you want to look as good as possible. It encourages you to exercise. It encourages you to eat healthily, and hopefully also to take part in swimming, which is a good, healthy lifestyle.
Oh no, it's very good. It absolutely, it works every muscle, doesn't it? Which is extraordinary. And the great thing is you don't have to wait for people. You don't say, well, what am I going to wear today?
Well, that's the thing. You don't have to bother about anything like that. You just get up, wash, get your breakfast, and never have to bother to dress or anything.
No,
But the thing is, to make something quite clear, even though I go down there, or have gone down there regularly, the thing is not to make an attempt to actually sunbathe. Don't do it. That's when you can burn. If you just, when I go down there, being the French ones, it's much, much nicer than English caravan sites. Every caravan or mobile home has got a garden around it. Trees, bushes, shrubs, flowers. So you spend a great deal of time doing gardening. And it's very, very relaxing if you haven't got to bother to wear anything.
Fantastic. And do they have, I mean, particular activities they plan together?
No, I don't like sport at all very much. I have a bicycle there and I cycle around in the sun. So you make friends with the neighbours and you have coffee with each other and things like that, or help each other with odd jobs. Like if you've got to climb up a tree and cut a couple of branches off, somebody holds the ladder for you. Or if you've got a problem with your car, somebody comes across and has a look at it for you. Simple as that. You just make a load of friends. You know, it's very, very lovely.
Well, fantastic. Well, people who want to find out more, you can look on the website. The general things are available anyway. And you're saying that anybody can go along and just experience it. They welcome newbies.
Oh, yes, they welcome new members, yeah, and encourage people. Because there are many, many, many more people who try it who never bother to join a club. So it is very popular. And I think it's very good socially and philosophically. You stop being obsessed with people's looks and their clothes, and you just become more interested in people's personality.
Oh, fantastic. Well, do have a look at that. We certainly encourage everybody to keep an open mind. And if they're tempted to try something, then you can absolutely have a look at that. Now, in terms of top tips for people who want to get into naturism, you say don't go sunbathing because those bits you don't want to burn probably hurt even more if they're sunburned. What are the other top tips you're looking at?
Don't bother to specifically sunbathe. But if you know you're going to be in the sun, whether it's fixing your car or doing the garden or even getting food ready on the outside, do use some sunscreen. Use a strong start with, and then you can taper off. But I would say keep moving, because it's a caravan site right next to the beach. So go down to the beach. Some people have, what do you call them, frisbees. Some people have balls, or get in the water and just swim and splash about. Stay active. Stay active. What can I say? I'm somebody who likes to be active, so it's second nature to me. Or go for a cycle ride. I can't describe how enjoyable riding a bike naked is. And it's a big caravan site. You can cycle round and round, have a look at other people's caravans, and some people live there all the year and create lovely gardens all around their caravan.
Oh, fantastic.
Or their mobile.
They do have a naked cycle ride, which I've seen through London a few times. Have you ever taken part in that?
Don't need to. I do it down in the south of France.
Okay.
To me,
it's certainly, I think, a regular event over here as well. And in the next episode, we're going to find out a bit more about the cycling side and a particular invention that you have. But we're going to do that in the next episode. But before we leave this particular one, John, I'm very interested to work out how you yourself would like to be remembered.
You want me to answer that right now?
I think that'd be a great time. There is no time like the present.
Well, I haven't got a speech ready, but I'd like to be remembered for being a polymath. That's somebody who's fairly good at quite a lot of things. I'd like to be remembered for creating some memorable songs, memorable records, having played a positive part in the environmental movement, because I was one of the founder members of Friends of the Earth in 1971. And I'd like to feel I was also one of the founder members of the Green Party. And I would like to feel I'd made a positive contribution to protecting the environment and planting trees. I'm also in a tree society. So, and I'm hoping to play a part in Boris Johnson's campaign to encourage people to cycle more. I've invented some things for cycling, like I designed a child seat to go on the back of a bike, a T-shirt to encourage people to cycle more, and also designed a cycle bag that fits inside the frame of a bicycle, so to give you more shopping capacity. And as shopping disappears inside it, and it's a triangular shape, I call it the bemusing triangle.
Oh, we love a good pun. What I love, talk about good puns, and we're going to explore all of this in the next episode.
Here's my T-shirt. This is the front of the T-shirt.
Oh, let's have a look.
Can you see it?
I can say it's bike it. There you go.
Right. But on the back, it has a slogan. And the slogan is, "My machine is quiet and clean."
Very good. I love it. So we'll look at that in the next episode. What I love, and you're a man who likes his linguistics and your puns, I like the fact you're involved with the trees and also about cycling. So you go from sycamore to cycle more.
Very good.
I see. There's no messing there. But for now, John Allison, thank you very much for being my guest.
Okay. See you in a moment.
See you in a moment. So there you go, the wonderfully interesting John Allison, not just a singer, but also a naturist as well. We're going to find out a little bit more about him in the next episode. You can find out about his involvement with Friends of the Earth as founder members of some of the various environmental side. And from sycamore to cycle more, you heard it here first. I've been Andrew Eborn. Thank you very much for joining me. Don't forget, if you want to take part, you can write to guests@octopustv.com. If you want to follow, share, do any of that, follow Octopus TV @Octopus TV @Andrew Eborn. But for now, thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.